thank you for including me with all these creative people. I'm honored. I've been thinking about this for quite a while. This ongoing struggle between humans and nature, and ideally striking a balance, but often it gets out of kilter. So, a number of years ago, when I first met Roberto, I had started a club that I made up called the Natural Cycle Club. And it's a club that everybody is a member of, no matter whether they want to be or not. And I started creating just self-promotional things. I work on a smaller scale than all of you guys here. But so the one issue is no beginning and no end. So something that is continuous. So the Natural Cycle Club. This is first just put on T-shirts, and I would hand them out to clients and friends, and just as an awareness kind of thing. Just keep it in mind. Keep nature in mind, and don't fight it. You're a member, so don't fight the natural cycle of things. And I first started out with the simple things like the big fish eat the little fish. And it's kind of a statement about the way things are and to not disturb them. And everybody has a problem with spiders, especially when they're in their house, but they also have a place in our natural cycle of things. And you see the message that we are all members, but he's kind of scary, ooga booga. And again, frogs eating flies. Never break the chain is it's an important part of the overall view of the natural cycle. If there's too much damage to nature, you start missing the links of nature. We start to get into a lot of trouble. Evolution and adaptation. Some things survive and some things die. Comment on the idea that humans always want more, and to try to put a limit on what we want and what we need. It's a bit different. And this is sort of the quintessential rats that they'll eat anything that they can get a hold of. It's not a human body. This is another thing I've been thinking about is CO2, which I know is a big subject, but people have to remember that CO2 is not universally horrible. It actually is the cornerstone of life as we know it, that it is the link between animals and plants. One does not live without the other, and so I do suggest that we do take a deep breath and help the trees grow, and in turn they'll give us back our oxygen. But there is a problem with burning CO2-based fuels, and I think that in the near run, as opposed to the long run, that fossil fuels are going to be with us for a while, and the idea would be to try to minimize the pollution in the short term, to try to take care of that. I know many cities in the world still are covered in pollutions and smog, and I remember back even in California many years ago growing up, when you looked to the east against the San Gabriel Mountains, you could see a reddish-brown haze hanging over Pasadena and those areas. And today, if you look to the east in the same area, you don't see that anymore. California did institute some very tough fossil fuel laws. They have their own special mix of gasoline. It costs a little more, but it does clean up the air. On the other hand, now there's 35 million people living there, and it keeps going back and forth. But this is really just asking for, that eventually I believe there will be a solution. That fossil fuels are an interim type of energy, and that Mother Nature often reveals things on its own terms. And I think eventually we'll get there. And just a reminder that we all, at the base of things, at the atomic level, we're all linked together we're all made of these materials, these microscopic materials. This is actually just wondering about, will we be able to address ecology properly before a lot of the unrest in the world goes away? I'm not sure that would be in our lifetimes, but I was just thinking about global warming and exactly, who is warming and what our fate might be if we don't get the world in order and can concentrate more on the quality of life. I also find it interesting that nature supplies us with the materials that we use to build machines that can destroy nature. And there's a give and a take there, and my main point here is balance equals survival. And something that sort of wraps up this end of it is death, life and death. We can't escape it, and things die and things grow, and ashes to ashes and dust to dust, and new growth again. I have a pet peeve about people that deface nature. I was taking a walk through the woods a few years ago, and I noticed some people had started painting tree stumps and rocks with spray paint and tagging and carving things into trees. And I know some people use them for target practice. I started a series of drawings, and it's called I Was Here, which is somebody we don't care about who's leaving their mark on something that in and of itself is rather beautiful, the dying tree stump, and becomes the home for food and other animals, and people don't realize that it still has its place even when it's dead, and to try to appreciate its natural beauty. You can see that the tree is suffering a bit. I don't know if you see the faces that are in a bit of anguish that are embedded in the trees. And then the carvings that say I was here, or I love me, or things of that nature. So ultimately I decided to try to put a face on nature so that people try to remember that even in the term dead leaves, I was thinking, well, they're dead leaves, but they were alive at one point and they were serving a purpose and supplying animals and people with food and shelter and any number of things. So this is my first series called Dead Leaves. When I would hunt for leaves and sometimes enhance them a bit. I would carve them and color them. It's not a Photoshop trick. It's something I actually enjoyed carving. Some of them they're almost perfect, even. And then I started another series called Stick Figures. Stick Figures, it's a play on the concept that well, stick figures are usually considered childish kind of drawing, just using sticks. But I decided to embellish on the concept of stick figures. Another attempt to have people realize that even when the trees are bare, that they've been serving a purpose. These are all ink drawings. And then I started experimenting with this was a series called A Face in the Garden, where I was taking and making leaf images and arranging them into faces and personalities. You know, it's funny, this one turned out looking like Prince. And then finally, a friend of mine once said, have you ever noticed that nature never makes bad color combinations? And I thought, now that is an interesting statement. And so I was inspired to try to recreate some of nature's wonders by designing, first of all, my own flowers. And that is a real challenge because the flowers that already exist are spectacular. So this is just an attempt to try to add to that. Maybe flowers that could be on a different plant. And then I decided to attempt the same thing with tropical fish, because they also have a strange beauty that actually mesmerizes. Finally, just a reminder to think about nature. Not just when you're going and walking through the park or the woods, don't be just looking at your cell phone. But turn it off, put it in your pocket, leave it in the car, and just think about nature. And that's it. Did I get anything?
The right bridge from Pacific to Pacific, arriving from California to Shanghai and Hangzhou. Good inspiration.